As you've heard, 140 years ago, a group not unlike yourselves gathered to get football organised in this city. That night, at the same place where only 2 years earlier the famous New South Wales Wanderers were born, the New South Wales English Football Association came into being. That meeting place, Aaron's Exchange Hotel, is an exemplar of how, before today, our game has recently treated its past. The pub no longer exists. The venue for the very first game between New South Wales and Queensland also bears no marker of the first matches in 1890, but instead has plaques dedicated to the formative games played by the Rabbitohs of South Sydney almost 2 decades later. Names like the Pyrmont and Minmi Rangers, Balmain's Fernley and Gladstone football clubs exist in newspapers only. The fabulous West Wallsend Woodpeckers, they remain, their name etched forever in not just the record books, but on the very trophy they won, the Richardson Cup, the state's first under-21 competition. Like its earlier brother, the Nurse Cup, it was a statewide trophy, played for by underage teams from Sydney, Newcastle and Wollongong. Football competitions, like governing bodies, have come and gone over the years, but thanks to venerable organs like the Referee, the Sydney Truth, Cumberland Argus and Fruit Growers Advocate, and the Cessnock Eagle, we have records of their existence and of the changes they have undergone along the way. But clubs more local have often had their histories too disappear with the winds of time. These junior clubs have always given us the stars of our game, but their part in our history has rarely been acknowledged, often because we were unaware of their existence. The stories have always been about the big clubs like Adamstown, Balgownie and Granville, clubs whose histories have been well recorded locally and whose artefacts have been treasured. We as a game needed to do better, because football in New South Wales did not begin with Sydney FC, Raleigh's first Socceroos, or even the 1922 Tourists. It has a history deeper and older than the headline games, or the stars who sold newspapers. Canterbury as an association is now 100 years old. St George too can expect a telegram from the Queen in the near future, while for a fistful of northern clubs, a centenary is a distant memory. Revolutions too are a very football thing. The Crawford Report wasn't the first upheaval. Neither was the introduction of the NSL 30 years earlier, or the 1957 institution of the New South Wales Federation of Football Clubs. Football at all levels has been in constant flux, but through it all, football remains the strongest sport at a grassroots level on both sides of the Barassi line, but particularly in New South Wales, where 2,500 clubs continue to give kids the chance to live out their dreams, to follow in the footsteps of a Cale, a Carpenter or a Matty Ryan. The memories of their feats recorded on film forever, but the records of those who preceded them are sketchy to say the least. After all, 140 years is a long time. Their stories for the most part remain untold, but tonight we begin to rectify this and to strengthen the culture of the game from the grassroots all the way to the top.